Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my channel Colonati. Today I'm here to do a strangely positive negative review of The Cold Between by Elizabeth Bonesteel. This is a space romance military science fiction novel. I'm just throwing all of the genre descriptors at you today. It is set a couple hundred years in the future. Humanity is trying to colonize a bunch of planets and for the most part, failing. The main character is a woman named Elena. She is an engineer on board a military Central Core ship, and she is on shore leave on the planet Volhynia. While there, she has a one-night stand with an ex or retired PSI captain named Trey. In the morning, she is recalled to her ship, only to discover that her ex-boyfriend has been murdered during the night and his body dumped in the alley behind her one-night stand's workplace. The other part of the story is that Elena's captain, a man named Greg Foster, is connected to a Central Core ship that disappeared 25 years prior. His mother was the chief medical officer on board that ship. It blew up. Nobody knew what really happened to it, and it's left a radioactive patch next to a wormhole that is very near to the colony planet where all this action is taking place. This book and this author are being compared a lot to Loisic Master Bujald. And Bujald is one of my favorite authors of all time, and her military science fiction series, the Vorkosigan Saga, is my favorite Mil SF books like ever. It's what got me into reading Mil SF. So about this comparison between Bonesteel and Bujald right now, all I really have to say is no. There are only superficial similarities between these two to support that comparison. They're both military science fiction written by women. Well, so what? They both combine romance plots with military and mystery elements. Okay, a lot of books do that. They both focus on characters' interpersonal relationships, and that one is true. The difference really is that Bujald is a much stronger, more experienced, more competent writer of military science fiction than Bonesteel is right now, and the Vorkosigan Saga, in my opinion, has a much, much different taste, feel, atmosphere, and style to it than this book has. Now, this is Bonesteel's debut novel, and it's not a bad debut at all. The thing is that I am approaching this as both a reader and a reviewer as, is this good military science fiction, and not, is this good space romance? My definition of good military science fiction is a book that incorporates realistic military settings with functional scientific advances, and I don't think this book really does either of those two things. Bonesteel almost frantically rushes her characters' emotions, their feelings, and their budding relationships. People say and do and believe very unbelievable, inappropriate things in the present moment. She fails to satisfactorily introduce her world building in enough depth that you understand how it could actually work and what elements support other parts. It feels like it could start collapsing at any point because who's funding all of this? And I think she really should have researched military chain of command and military culture a lot more to get a more authentic feel for the military elements. Now, I don't actually know if it is billed as Mil SF, but if you're gonna compare it to Bujald, then yeah, I guess it is. Plus, all of the characters are captains, commanders, soldiers, or enlisted personnel in military fleets. And I don't think it's very clearly explained what the Central Core Fleet or the PSI fleet are, which is problem number one here. But on top of that, absolutely no character behaves appropriately or realistically within a military chain of command or within a military culture. This was glaringly obvious to me, and I only know about military life from small family anecdotes and reading other military SF novels by people like Elizabeth Moon, who has personal experience in the Marines. Men and women who have shown aptitude for command positions are usually not the personality types who repeatedly, utterly, completely flaunt the rules and damn the consequences, but every single character who can does in this book. None of these characters felt realistically regimented or trained, and if a really messy command structure was what Bonesteel intended to portray, I don't think that that intention came across clearly enough. However, if it was intentional, if this messy structure is actually the reality that Bonesteel wanted to portray, then I can actually see how that works a little bit in the story. So the world building was flimsy and at times felt implausible. Then there's the timeline. Maybe don't get me started on the timeline, but basically it's a 500-page book, including interstellar travel, within 24 hours. That's just not possible. But there are some good, promising things about this book, which is why I want to make this a slightly more positive negative review. The romance, the multiple mysteries, and the background events and history mesh very well. In some cases, it strongly reminded me of Jack McDevitt's Alex Benedict series, which is also kind of like Mill SF, but usually involves mysteries in space. Even if the characters behaved in unbelievable ways at pivotal moments, they were still interesting. It was like watching a train wreck. It was like reading a soap opera, because most of it is about people's sex lives and their relationship problems and their doomed marriages. And there's a lot of action that's very well chunked and paced throughout the entire book, so you never want to stop reading. It sort of has that compulsive one more chapter feel that means you fly through a 500-page book in a single day, which is exactly what I did. This is not an amazing book. It suffers from some problems I really think that an editor should have pointed out to the author and given her some time to shore up those weaknesses. People who come to this expecting it to be space romance will probably really enjoy it. People like me, who are coming at it with the Mill SF bent, are much more likely to be disappointed because it is not as strong as probably many other things that you have read in the past, which is kind of my problem with it. But here's the thing. I intend to pick up the next book in the series. The Cold Between is the first book in a series that Bonesteel is launching, and the second one comes out a little bit later this year, I think around December, and I fully intend to get it and read it whenever my library gets it, because I want to know what happens next. I think that Bonesteel has a lot of promise. Her writing is good, her ideas are good and engaging, and I think her books are just going to be fun to read even if they don't challenge my brain all that much. That is everything I have to say about The Cold Between by Elizabeth Bonesteel. It's a fun read with some rookie mistakes, and I have higher expectations for the sequel. If you have read this or you want to, leave me your thoughts down below, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.